All right, what we're looking at right here is basically a blueprint for urban survival. We're going to dive into how one city is getting ready for the absolute worst-case scenarios, all to protect a service that, you'll see, is way more critical than you probably think.
So let me just ask you something. When you think about the most essential, can't live without its city services, what pops into your head? Clean water? Yep, for sure. Sanitation systems? Of course. But what else? What else is right up there in terms of importance?
Believe it or not, it's your weekly trash collection. Yeah, I know, it sounds kind of boring, right? But stick with me here because when that service stops, a city starts to fall apart and it happens fast.
And that really gets us to our first big idea here. This isn't just about keeping the streets looking nice. No, this is all about public health.
Now check this out. This quote right here. This isn't just someone's opinion. This is the official classification. The city planners we're talking about have actually formally called waste removal a health-critical basic service. Think about that. That puts it on the exact same level as clean water. And that, my friends, completely changes the game.
So, to handle this, the city set up a whole dedicated program. They even gave it this really long name: Solid Waste Excellence in Waste Service Delivery Program. Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful, I know, but that name is sending a message, right? It's not just about picking up trash. It's about being excellent at delivering a service that's absolutely vital for public health.
Okay, but here's the problem. This super important service is facing what you could call a perfect storm. The city is getting squeezed by two massive threats, and either one could pretty much shut the whole system down.
And this does a great job of showing what those two threats are. On one side, you've got intense load shedding. We're talking major rolling blackouts because of the energy crisis. That could knock out the actual infrastructure, the depots, the communication systems, the whole shebang. Then, on the other side, you have this rapid growth of informal settlements, which creates this incredibly complex logistical nightmare for planning routes and just getting the job done.
So, you're fighting a battle on two fronts. What do? Well, let's take a look at the city's playbook and see what their counter moves are. All right, their first move is to tackle that energy crisis head-on. They call it the Load Shedding Business Continuity Management Initiative, or BCM for short. Basically, it's the city's official plan to keep the lights on, metaphorically speaking, for essential services, even when the actual lights go out.
So how does this BCM thing actually work? Well, first, all the city departments have to come up with specific plans just for waste removal. Second, and this part is huge, these plans have to be designed to work even in the absolute worst-case scenarios. I'm talking stages 8 to 10 load shedding. That's almost no power for long stretches of time. And third, they have to run the numbers and figure out the budget trade-offs. What's it going to cost to actually make this happen?
Okay, so what about that second threat, the growth of informal settlements? Well, the city's response here can be summed up in one really powerful number: 99%. That is their official target for providing at least a basic level of trash collection to every single known informal settlement. That is a seriously ambitious goal, and it shows a real commitment to public health for absolutely everyone.
Okay, so having a great plan is one thing, right? But how do you actually know if it's working? That's where the accountability engine comes in. We're talking about the systems they put in place to track everything and make sure they're hitting their targets.
The big master plan for all of this is something called the Integrated Waste Management Plan, or IWMP. Now, the important thing here is that this isn't some old, dusty document that's been sitting on a shelf for a decade. No, it was just updated in April 2023. So it's fresh, it's relevant, and it's designed for the challenges they're facing right now.
And this new, updated plan does three really important things. First, it's looking for help from the private sector through new partnerships. Second, its budget is now directly tied to the city's biggest overall priorities. And third, it brings in way tougher performance tracking, all thanks to a new financial rule that basically forces them to be more accountable. So, what does that enhanced tracking actually mean in practice? Well, this table gives us a couple of perfect examples. They're now tracking approved staff positions versus how many are actually filled. That tells you right away if you have enough people on the ground to do the job. And they're also tracking the net surplus or deficit. That answers a really simple but crucial question: can we afford to keep doing this, or is this service about to go broke? When you put it all together, it shows that a city's real strength, its actual resilience, isn't about the shiny skyscrapers or the famous landmarks. It's about its ability to keep the most basic life-or-death services running no matter what happens. Which really just leaves you with one final question to think about. How prepared is your city?